pleasure you're back with me, I'm Nishafika on Lensa Kini. Our topic for this segment is an uncommon topic nowadays. It is discussed everywhere in our community. Our topics for today is child abuse. Every year, at least 1,000 Malaysian children are identified as victims of child abuse and neglect. However, there are certain cases where both the abuser and the victim keep their identities hidden. As a result, the recorded cases are only the tip of the iceberg, as many cases go undetected.
The Child Act 2001 Act 611 defines a child as a person under the age of 18. Every year in Malaysia, 1,000 children are reported to be victims of child abuse and neglect. Child abuse cases in Malaysia have been demonstrating an upward trend since 2019. Child abuse is not just physical violence directed at a child. It is any form of maltreatment by an adult that is violent or threatening to the child. It refers to the physical and emotional mistreatment, sexual abuse, neglect, and negligent treatment of children, as well as to their commercial or other exploitation. Royal Malaysian Police Criminal Investigation Department Director Datuk Seri Abdul Jalil said 531 child abuse cases were reported in the first 8 months of 2022. Whereas for the first 9 months of the previous year, a total of 472 child abuse incidents were reported by the Sexual, Women and Children Investigation Division D11.
No child should have to live in constant fear of violence, but unfortunately, some do as they fall victim to child abuse and neglect. The offenders are frequently family members, such as biological parents or extended family members. Their biological parents and or babysitters were the most prevalent culprits. Child abuse also occurs in nurseries, mainly unlicensed ones. Ms. Raihan Mustafa, the Director of Children's Division from the Malaysian Social Welfare Department, CKMM, is with us today. The Social Welfare Department in Malaysia, CKMM, under the Women, Family and Community Development Ministry, is mandated by the Child Act to fulfill a child protection role for all children in the country. The department is responsible for the provision of care, protection and rehabilitation of children to ensure their well-being. So let us get to Ms. Raihan. Hello Ms. Raihan. Would you please enlighten us regarding the rapid increase of child abuse cases over the past year?
Hello Ms. Amni. Cases of child abuse in the country were on the rise due to a lack of awareness and a failure to report such crime. The victims are most likely traumatized and fearful of doing so because it may result in further physical and mental harm being inflicted on them. However, the perpetrator in most cases will never reveal what they did out of fear that they will get caught by the authorities. Witnesses, on the other hand, may choose to turn a blind eye when they see or they know someone who is being abused. Child abuse cases have reached an alarming level as one of the contributing factors was still people's attitude of being reluctant to report such cases. It is still sometimes being treated as a taboo topic, as people would have thought that the parents or the caregiver are disciplining the children in that certain way. Child abuse cases have seen an increase, probably because the increase of the reports recorded each year compared to the previous year, when the people are just being silent without notifying the authorities. But now it is different. People are more aware and will immediately lodge a report if there was an occurrence of child abuse around them.
Thank you, Miss, for your clear insight. While we are on the subject, when you claim that individuals are hesitant to disclose child abuse incidents, do you mean that those who are aware of such cases choose to keep silent? And let's say there's a witness, will he or she remain silent until the end and only speaking up when the case gets viral or becomes more serious? How will our reported cases affect the victims? Could you please answer that, Miss?
A person that witnessed child abuse has an obligation to report the matter to the authorities. In some cases, those who refuse to report it will face possible criminal penalties or charges for the lack of reporting when the act of reporting itself is mandatory. It is advisable for witnesses to report any type of child abuse at site, as it may be underlining a heavier abuse when the victim is left alone with the abuser without another party. The witness should record the details and explain the whole situation to the authorities, even if it is as common as afflicted the children with a clothes hanger or a cane as a punishment. It is better to be safe than to be sorry. The abuse itself is not always performed by a stranger or a villain figure. It can also be afflicted from parents and caregiver. Most of the time, children are often clueless and do not realize that they are being abused, but they can definitely recognize the pain and fear. Some children experience the act of physical violence like hitting, pushing, slapping, kicking, and strangling. Child physical abuse is the non-accidental injury of a child. Injuries include bruises, laceration, blunt trauma, fractures, head trauma, shaking, burns, and poisoning that may lead to fatality. The victims that are left unattended often have a hard time recovering from the traumatic events that they have been through. They might suffer a long-term effects such as mental health disorder, for example, anxiety, attachment issue, PTSD, self-harm, suicidal thought. They might also face learning disorder that includes a poor language cognitive development, developmental delay, eating disorder, and physical ailments. Childhood maltreatment can be linked to a later physical, psychological, and behavioral consequences, as well as cost to society as a whole. In a more severe case, it may lead to suicide.
Thank you, Ms. Raihan, for the enlightenment. And now, I would like to invite my fellow reporter on site. Please welcome Ms. Aini.
Terima kasih Amni dan Dr. Iraihan. Saya Kuratul Aini dan kami kini sedang bersiaran langsung dari Mahkamah Jenayah Session Shah Alam untuk menembual ibu kepada adik Muhammad Zafran yang telah maut didera oleh pengasuhnya baru-baru ini. Baiklah, Puan Merlisa, bolehkah Puan kongsikan bagaimana perkembangan daripada mahkamah tentang kes penderaan anak Puan?
Buat masa sekarang, pihak saya masih lagi mengumpulkan bahan bukti daripada report hospital, kenyataan daripada polis, dan kami masih lagi mencari saksi-saksi untuk menjelaskan keadaan kami. Kami inginkan sebuah penjelasan kenapa perkara seperti ini boleh berlaku, dan saya sangat berharap agar pihak-pihak yang berkaitan, pihak-pihak yang berwajib untuk membantu kami menyelesaikan permasalahan kami, kerana saya merasakan perkara ini sungguh tidak adil terhadap saya dan terhadap anak saya.
Okey, baik, terima kasih Puan Merlisa. Kita kembali ke studio.
Thank you so much, Ms. Aini. Wow, that's truly moving to see. It must be difficult for the mother to accept that the child she carried for 9 months left her in such a way. Well, today with us, we have another guest, Dr. Nurul Sakina, the Director of Hospital Pintar Pakar Kanak-Kanak Universiti Kebangsaan Malaysia. So, Dr. Sakina, what do you think about Puan Marlisa case?
Yes, of course, it takes a lot of time to accept the reality, and for Puan Marlisa to actually be there at the court to fight for her son's justice when she is unstable emotionally, it needs a lot of courage to be physically and mentally strong.
Yes, I agree with you, Doctor. So, as we are discussing this matter, Doctor, could you advise us and everyone else, especially parents, what we can do to give our children the best childhood life and prevent further child abuse?
Of course, although it is uncertain that incidents will not happen, but as parents, we should try our best to leave our children in good hands. And some of the aspects that we should prioritize when deciding children's center for our kids is that first and foremost, it needs to be a registered children's center, because when the place is licensed, it should have all the requirements that a childcare center is supposed to have in terms of premise safety, premise surveillance, and children's welfare. Okay, and other than that, parents should take into account who are the child carers of our kids. Okay, because they should be people who know how to handle kids professionally. And by that, I mean it's better when the teachers are from early childhood care and education background. Because these qualified child carers, they have the knowledge to communicate with children and how to cater children using different approaches in various situations, especially in cases when the kids are not quite in control. Okay, so there are many more aspects to look forward to, but what I have mentioned just now should be the early priorities in deciding a child care center for our children, because when they are in safe hands, safe places, hopefully our children are better taken care of and safe from any act of abuse or negligence.
Thank you very much, Doctor. That is very eye-opening. I certainly have never thought of any of those before this. And it's embarrassing since all I wanted to do is to find a daycare center close to my house where I could simply just send and fetch my children. But Doctor, in my own experience, I've seen parents who left their children with a nanny they discovered in their neighborhood who is clearly unqualified to be a child caretaker because they couldn't afford to send their children to a well-established daycare, which I think costs a lot more. What are your thoughts on this matter, Doctor? Is there a better option for these parents?
In this case only, our government has provided community-based childcare centers like TASCA and Tabika Kemas. They are established upon the initiative of a community for the benefit of low-income families in urban and rural areas, and they receive aid from the federal government or state government. And in fact, the teachers at these centers are required to have a diploma in the field of early childhood education, which recognized by the government from a local higher education institution. And to equip them with human knowledge, sometimes some parents don't have enough knowledge about the efforts that the government has put into this matter. So I urge parents out there to look more into TASCA and Tabika Kemas nearby your area.
Thank you very much, Doctor. So, the government investigated this subject and offered us superior facilities for our children, but we always ignore it, right? As a parents, we should have known better about what is best for our children's health. Please choose a competent and accredited daycare, as suggested by Dr. Sakina, to guarantee our children are in the safe hands of responsible people, since children deserve to live as happy children without any fear. Who will provide the greatest care for them if not us? Should it even be a question? No, I don't believe so. So anyway, thank you for coming with us today and giving such useful information, Doctor.
No problem, Umi. It's my pleasure to be here.
Okay, so with that, I believe that concludes today's program. I'm Amni Shafika, and I'll see you next week with a lot more intriguing subjects to talk about. So, goodbye.